Starting this meeting late. We've got a very, very long agenda, and I must apologise for that. I think it's the longest one I've ever seen at this committee. But we still would like you to participate and encourage you to ask any questions that the officers are going to provide the information for. I'd like to actually ask your permission, if you'd mind, that Councillor Stilts is sitting up here with me tonight because Councillor Spenceley is unable to attend, and she's going to help me with the prompts that come from the officers and everything, because there's no way I can do all the screens and the papers and everything. So are you all okay with that, members? Yes. Thank you very much. All right, we're going to move on swiftly. I want to welcome you all to the Performance, Governance and Audit Committee meeting on the 18th of June at Maldon District Council. My name is Councillor Wendy Stamp and I'm the chairperson of this committee. Members, we are streaming this meeting live as well as recording, and by being present in the meeting, you are given your consent to being recorded. During each item, please put your hand up to indicate if you wish to speak, and I will invite you at the appropriate time. Could I ask members to avoid approaching the top table, as this could create interference with the camera and the live stream. Please note that the YouTube live stream sound recording is dependent on the correct use of the microphones. Therefore, can I ask that when invited to speak, you remember to turn on your microphone and then remember to turn it off again when finished. Please reference a page and paragraph number when referring to the agenda papers, and keep your contributions clear and concise if possible, please. Right, apologies for absence, Miss Bird, please.
Thank you, Chairman. Apologies were received from Councillor Siddle-Norman, Councillor Spenceley, Councillor Thompson, and Councillor Driver is attending as a substitute for Councillor Spenceley, and Councillor Morgan is attending as a substitute for Councillor Thompson. Thank you, Chairman.
Lovely. Well, I'd like to welcome you, members. Some of you haven't been attended this meeting before, this committee meeting before, and it's usually very good. And we do encourage lots of participation if you've got any concerns with the reports in front of you. Okay, we're going to move on. Minutes of the last meeting. To confirm the minutes of the Performance, Governance and Audit Committee meeting held on the 7th of March 2024 from pages 5 to 56. Can I ask for any of accuracy, members? And I've so moved these minutes to give to this committee. Anybody got any accuracy? Some of you weren't on it. No? Do I have a seconder, please, for the minutes? Thank you. Members agreed by assent? Okay. Right, let's move on. Disclosure of interests. To disclose the existence and nature of any disclosable pecuniary interests, other registrable interests and non-registrable interests relating to items of business on the agenda, regard to paragraph 9 and appendix B of the Code of Conduct for members. Members are reminded that they should also require to disclose any interest as soon as they become aware, should the need arise throughout the meeting. Any? Sorry? Okay, yeah, okay. Thanks. Councillor Morgan.
I don't know whether it's necessarily an interest, but Chair, but I just thought I'd point out that obviously I am also the chairman of the Review and Scrutiny Committee, and an item relating to a referral from that committee is coming up before us later on tonight.
I'd need to take advice. I don't think there's a problem with that. No, okay.
Thank you.
And I've made the first mistake, and thank you all for not pointing it out to me. I've missed agenda item 4 and gone on to agenda item 5. So let's go back to matters arising from pages 57 to 72. Has everybody read them? Yeah. Okay, I'm quite happy with them now they've been populated. Any queries, members? Agreed by assent? Okay. Right, public participation, agenda item 6. To receive the views of members of the public to which prior notification in writing has been received no later than noon on Tuesday prior to the day of the meeting. Can I ask Ms Bird, have we got any public participation, please?
No, Chairman, we don't have any, thank you.
Okay, right, let's get down to the nitty-gritty, members. Agenda item 7, the internal audit report. Mr Lucas, would you like to present this and then introduce, hang on, I'll get their names right, Mr Winter and Mr Billingham of BDO. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you, Chair. I don't really have anything to say other than to, as you say, refer to Aaron Winter as the partner for BDO, who's going to present the internal audit report. Thanks.
Okay, Mr Winter, would you like to present the report, and then members, I'll put the recommendation following the report and any questions. Thank you.
Thank you, Chair. Thank you, Naomi. So good evening, everybody. So our paper, which is page 75 onwards, I will take as read. I'll just highlight a few points. So what we're presenting to you today is our proposed internal audit and plan for 24-25 in the context of our 3-year strategic plan. So I acknowledge that this is not normally an audit related committee. However, given the timing of the committee meetings, it was agreed that we would bring this plan to you. So that means that we can get it agreed and then commence with the work and ensure that we continue to provide the profile of reporting that we normally do to the committee up until the end of the financial year, and so we can inform our head of internal audit opinion for 24-25 in a timely manner. So the plan is risk-based, covering the key areas of risk of the council over a multi-year approach, but it also takes into account the feedback that we get from management in terms of areas of potential concern, areas of focus, or actually areas of where management wants support in terms of understanding the enhancement or improvements or assurance on the ongoing work the council is doing on its controlled environment. So we have agreed this plan with management and they've endorsed it just for completeness. So on page 84 of the pack, this is where we have reviews for the year. I'm not proposing to go into detail of those, however it does outline a brief description and a rationale for their inclusion. What I would note is that we do scope each individual piece of work separately with management, so therefore that description is quite high level, and when we come to do the work it does focus on the key risks, emergency risks and areas of concern in relation to that piece of work, which we agree with management and then deliver and report to this committee once we've completed our work. There is a mixture of high-risk areas, cyclical coverage and mandatory areas that we need to cover from an annual head of internal audit opinion point of view. As with our previous plans, they always remain flexible, adaptable to risk, so if we do identify or management identify any concerns that they want support with or internal audit resources help them with, we do always keep this plan under review, ensure that it prioritises the risk that the council is facing, but any changes would come back to this committee as part of our ongoing period of reporting to you. And then finally, I just want to draw the committee's attention to page 91, which is, or page 16 of our paper, which is our internal audit charter. So this is the requirement of the public sector internal audit standards. It defines our role, purpose, responsibility, but also acts as a contract between us, management and the committee, and what we will deliver and what management will deliver as part of us, our agreed plan. So that was all I was going to say, Chair, and happy to take any questions, and my colleague Andrew here as well to answer any detailed questions on the scoping.
Thank you very much. Members, does anybody have any questions? Councillor Stilts, please.
Thank you. It's not a question on your scoping. Page 70 and 71, you've got a medium risk and a high risk, and the due date was the 31st of March 2024, which we've now passed. The officer one of the officers that was responsible for those has left. Are we assured that this is going to be coming forward to us, and is there a new date for due date on that?
So I'm assuming this is referring to the follow-up snippet that we provided in response to the action and matters arising, which is where we get some missing information. At the next committee meeting, we will be bringing our follow-up report to the committee as part of our normal reporting, which will have an update on all of these recommendations. I believe actually, Andrew, we've already collated that and had management response. I don't know if you've got any update in terms of that specific action, but we will be bringing a full report to the July committee meeting in relation to that. We should answer that question.
Are you happy with that? Okay, any more questions, members? Okay, I'm going to move to the recommendation. The recommendation is that the committee approves the internal audit plan 2024 to 2025 and strategic plan 2023 to 2026 as at Appendix A. I so move. Can I have a seconder, please? Councillor Stilts. Members, do we agree by assent? Agreed. Thank you very much. Thank you. You can leave now. Quite an early day for you. Thank you very much for attending.
Thank you very much.
Okay. All right, members. Now we move to agenda item 8, the exclusion of public and press. To resolve that under section 100A(4) of the Local Government Act 1972, the public be excluded from the meeting for the following item of business on the grounds that involves a likely disclosure of exempt information as defined in paragraph 3 of part 1 of Schedule 12A to the Act, and that this satisfies the public interest test. I propose. Do I have a seconder, please? Councillor Pratt, thank you very much. Tara, would you like to cut the line? Ms Hughes, would you like to present the report, please? And then I will go to the questions and then the recommendations. Thank you.
Yeah, so this report covers January to March 2024 and gives performance updates against the corporate plan priorities. Of the 6 priorities, 4 are on track with conditional elements and 2 are on track. In section 3.1 of your covering report, you can see the level of information about the specific indicators which are then at risk around delivery. Appendix 1, which is then found on pages 107 to 148 of your pack, shows the individual target level information and an update which has informed this view. The report as quarter 4 also gives us an end of year position. So following this report, a key performance indicator review exercise is also in progress ahead of our quarter 1 reporting.
Is that it? Okay, lovely. Thank you very much. Members, have you got any questions on the corporate performance? Councillor Stilts.
Thank you. Thank you, Miss Hughes. Page 111, and it's just a quick question. Who is the Maldon District Dementia Friendly Community Chairman? And what is that group?
Councillor Mays. Councillor Mays.
Okay, it's the first I'd heard of that group on it. And the other one is page 114. And basically, we have a target, and every quarter we have not met that target, and I just wondered why.
So I have an officer response on that one. Thank you for sending that ahead of time. That was really helpful. So the action plan covers across 3 years. So the percentage complete, as it's reported, measures the completion against the actions within the entirety of the 3-year plan. So it's that's the amount of progress that's been made, but we're on track for year 1.
Thank you.
Anybody else? Members? Councillor Driver, welcome.
Thank you. Ms Hughes, on page 105, these the overview position where you've got a variety of greens, on track, conditional elements. It's just understanding what that means, because on track seems to suggest that we're on track, and according to this, we're on track across the piece. I'm just trying to get my head round the extent to which actually we're on track if there are conditional elements. It's just to get a flavour, and I'm not quite sure I'm clear on the extent to which we're on track.
So we're broadly performing against the priority as a whole, but then you'll see within the table that there's an indicators at risk column, and that then draws out the particular indicators where we're not performing. So it is a judgment call. It depends on how many of those indicators within the particular priority tip us over. But at the moment you can see that there's actually only one indicator in each area where we've got issues around risks.
Okay, can I come back?
Of course you can.
I understand that. It's just as an overview, I just wonder whether some of these, I'm not sure what colour you would necessarily use, but typically if you're not actually on track, you're amber. But it's just to get a sense of where we are. It might be a minor point, and it might be that I'm looking at this for the first time. PG&A, and therefore actually the difference in the colour of the green tells you where we are, but maybe that's just for me to
Okay,
understand.
Thank you, Councillor Driver. Mr Dodson.
Thank you, Chair. I think, yes, it's because each of those 6 priorities are made up of 6, 7, 8 or more indicators. And I think in all of these, all but one of them, of that 8 or 9 or however many it is on target. So it's a marginal shortfall within the more granular report that highlights each of the indicators. Then we do red, amber, green, depending if they're being hit. But it's because 7 out of 8, it's on track apart from one minor issue. That's the principle. Thanks. Thank you.
Councillor Stilts.
Thank you. I wasn't going to do this one, but it might help Councillor Driver. If you look at page 119, there is an at risk, which is in red. And basically, I just want reassurance. It goes back to a question I asked earlier that this is going to come on board. It should have been March 24, according to other paperwork. So I just wondered, is that happening? It's the Prom Park
I think it's Miss
Management
Green.
Plan.
I think it's Miss Green. Thank you.
Thank you, Chairman. So, yes, this particular item was due to be delivered by Q4, so that's the reason why it's currently shown at risk, because it wasn't completed by Q4. However, there was a reason for that, and that's because we did a pause partway through the project to review the work that had been done to date. Following that pause, that work has been restarted, so we have now got a new timetable and we have got a new delivery plan. But that means that that new date will now need to be approved through our normal projects process. So it's not that the project won't be delivered, it's just that it wasn't delivered within the original timescales, which have now moved. But hopefully you'll see from the update that that work has restarted. And as I said, we've got a new timetable in place to deliver that.
Have you got any indication, Miss Green, when it will be delivered? When the new timescales will come?
This will be delivered by the 31st of March, which is when the sort of final date is. We are just in the process of finalising the revised timetable, which we will share with members, which will include some engagement events with members to bring them up to date on the work that's been done.
Okay, one more question from me. How late then will this be from the start to finish, from its delivery, from when it was supposed to be delivered?
It'll be 11 months.
11 months. Okay. Thank you. And a quick update from the launch of the staff, page 135, please. If we could have an update. I can't remember which officer it is, about the carbon literacy training. Can somebody just tell us why? Is that you, Cheryl? Oh, no, it's Miss Wheatley.
Yeah, hi, thank you.
Thank you.
So the carbon literacy training, we obtained some internal and external quotes to develop the carbon induction course internally. However, we decided to develop the module ourselves as it would give us greater flexibility and control. So the date for that has been pushed from Q4 to Q1 this financial year. And we have had a total of 13 members of staff trained already, and there are more that will be going through this carbon literacy trainings in Q1. Thank you.
Can I ask a supplementary? When will members be trained?
I don't have that information, but I will be happy to come back to you, Chair, on that point.
Yeah, if you could come back to all the members, or I'll just put it on matters arising or something. We'll just add it to the list, because I think it's important that we all know what's happening. Thank you. Okay, members, any other questions? Councillor Morgan, please.
Just joining in your sort of new members' enthusiasm. Looking at page 115, I note the number of affordable houses delivered is shown red at risk against a target of 209, and there's 149, I think, in 23-24. Can I just clarify, is that affordable housing produced by developers in developments, or what exactly does, why is there that shortfall, and what can be done to recover it?
Which officer would like to respond to that? Is that Miss Wheatley or Shortland, or Tough Shortland, or Mr. Winslow?
Thank you, Chair. I believe that particular target is, so the 209 per annum is set out in the local development plan. So that's the target that should be delivered through all manner of means, not just the planning system, but the planning system is one of those elements, yes.
Councillor Morgan?
Well, can you explain whether can we have a bit more details as to why there is a shortfall and what is being done, if anything, to recover it?
So this is in terms of a target, this is an annualised target. Members will be aware that some affordable housing schemes deliver affordable housing up front all at once, rather than annualised throughout the year. I think we can probably provide members with some details on the affordable housing delivery outside this meeting, if that's okay, Chair, just so that that could put that into context. But it would also include you buying housing on the open market and bringing it into affordable housing stock. You have some schemes that have been underway to support affordable housing delivery in that way. And it would also include anything which registered providers such as Moat or any of the other housing associations that operate in the district would also deliver to. So I think we would have to provide that afterwards, if that's okay, Chair.
Yeah, I think that's fine. Is that all right with you, Councillor Morgan?
Yes, I just wonder under the circumstances whether showing it red and that risk is perhaps appropriate. Is it quite as drastic as
Yes, it's
as
usually at risk.
It gives a rather sort of alarmist view.
Councillor Morgan, it's always at risk. It comes up on all the papers for a long time. It's something that Council's very aware of. Thank you for the question. Right, members, no other questions? Let's move on to the recommendations. That members review the information as set out in this report and Appendix 1 with priority focus given to the strategic priority level performance. Little 2, that members confirm they are assured through this review that corporate performance is being managed effectively. I so propose. Do I have a seconder? Councillor Stilts. Members, do we agree? Are we comfortable that we are... Thank you, agreed. Thank you very much, members. Right, agenda item 13, annual governance statement actions update. Sorry, have I missed one? Oh, sorry, 12. I've tried to move us on too quickly. Calm down, Councillor Stamp. Agenda item 12 is Performance, Governance and Audit Committee is the review of the corporate risk quarter 4. Miss Hughes, I think it's you again, is it? Yes.
Yes. Yes, so this report also covers January to March 2024 of the Corporate Risk Register, which is regularly monitored by the corporate leadership team. The full risk register is then provided at Appendix 1 of your report on pages 150 to 154, and additionally there's a mitigating action log found on page 155. Between quarter 3 and quarter 4 there were no changes in risk direction from the corporate risk register, but there is one risk that's recommended for closure, which is R3, which is failure to target services or influence partners effectively to support identified housing needs of increasing ageing population. The suggestion is that this will be moved to service level housing work, as the government assessment does not prioritise housing need for older people in the same way. It gives equal weight to housing risks. That's it from me, thank you.
Okay. Members, there is some red on this one if anybody's looking at it. If anybody's got any questions. Members? No questions? Fine, okay, let's go to the recommendations. Thank you, Miss Hughes. Nobody else know the officers wish to speak on this? Mr Dodson? No. Okay, recommendations, members. Little 1 is that members review the corporate risk register in Appendix 1 and provide comments and feedback for consideration. Little 2, that members review progress of the corporate risk mitigation actions in Appendix 2 and provide comment and feedback for consideration. Little 3, that members are assured through this review that corporate risk is being managed effectively. And little 4, that members challenge risk where the committee feels that the council's corporate goals may not be achieved. Councillor Stilts, please, before we... can I just move it first? I'll move it, but don't second it until we do the thing. Okay, Councillor Stilts.
Thank you. Just a quick question. Miss Hughes, you said that there was a recommendation to close one of them. Should that not be in that recommendation that you've just read out?
No, it's just by exception of the corporate risk register that would then take effect.
Thank you for clarity. Do I have a seconder? Yep. Members, do we agree by assent? Okay, thank you. That was agenda item 12. We move on to agenda item 13, which is the annual governance statement actions update, pages 157 to 160. Ms Hughes, please.
So this is the final report against the 22-23 annual governance statement actions. As shown in section 3.5 of the report, there are 2 actions that have been closed in Q4, and an update is provided in the table around these. There are also 2 outstanding actions which are rolled over, and they will be included in the alongside additional actions that have been identified in the 23-24 annual governance statement, and that will then be reported back to this committee going forwards.
Okay. Members, do we have any questions? Councillor Stilts, please.
I feel like I'm the only one asking questions.
Usually is you or me anyway, isn't it?
Page 157, this is probably for Mr Winslow. Yeah, you know what I'm going to ask? It says about draw out and link all our policies for the LDP. Do we have a timeline when we will see any of those policies come into council?
The timescale that council approved currently sees the target completion date for the LDP project as being September 2026. I don't have a timetable as to when those policies would be coming to council right at this moment, but those policies, the draft policies, are currently progressing through the Planning Policy Working Group. And once that work programme of the Planning Policy Working Group is completed, that will then inform what will be the next Regulation 18 consultation on the Local Development Plan Review, which is called the Preferred Options.
Okay, so Councillor Stilts, now you go.
So I was just going to come back on that. So are we reviewing all of the policies in one go? Are we looking at different policies to see if they need reviewing?
So as a council, we've already taken certain steps to review how out of date or how in date, if you like, to spin it round, the current local development plan is. That's since sort of 2021-22, that's informed the Planning Policy Working Group's work plan. Because of the format of the local development plan that was approved in 2017, that was one of the first local development plans that was published and adopted, approved in England under what was then a very new planning system. That means that the current format of the current LDP is now out of sync with the new National Planning Policy Framework. So most policies will need reviewing to some degree.
Thank you.
Thank you. Councillor Pratt, please.
Thank you, Chair. Sorry, Mr. Winslow, it's you again. But the item that mentions build engagement and information sharing with parish councils, the dialogue hints that you respond. Are you not actually telling the parish councils what's going on, or do you just wait for them to ask a question and then respond? Well, I asked the question because Burnham Town Council, prior to their annual meeting, rang me as one of the contributors to their neighbourhood plan. They didn't know what state the LDP was in. And speaking as a Southminster Parish Councillor, I've certainly had no interaction with the Maldon District Council Planning Department as far as what we should be doing. So could you just enlighten me on what that means?
Certainly. So yes, it is. There is a degree of two-way communication required between the parish council, or parish councils, and district council in respects of local development plan production and any neighbourhood development plan production. I can certainly circulate a letter that was circulated to all parish councils with neighbourhood plans on the 11th of June 2021. Which was concerning the decision of Maldon District Council to review the local development plan and what that may mean for their neighbourhood development plans. That was sent to all parish councils with neighbourhood development plans in place or made or under production. I've certainly not received any correspondence from the town council in respects of the current neighbourhood development plan. But the letter in question, I'm just looking at my notes, the letter in question advised all parishes that there's no, with neighbourhood plans, that there was no statutory requirement to review or update their neighbourhood development plans as a result of Maldon updating its local development plan. But the option is there should they wish their neighbourhood development plans to continue to have weight in the planning process. I'm quite happy, Chair, to circulate that letter for information should that be of assistance.
If I may come back, I think in
Certainly
2021 a lot's happened since then. Clerks have gone and come, but councillors have changed, so that's probably lost. My concern is how much the Maldon District Council Planning Department are telling parish councils what's happening with the local development plan review work, which is what the item refers to. Because I don't believe there's anything that's coming from this council to them. If there is, I've missed it.
Mr. Winslow.
I'll finish now, thank you.
Thank you. They're very good questions. Thank you very much.
So we attend and we are due to attend the next local parish, Maldon District Parish Council Forum, where we do deliver updates of the local development plan review. That has been attended by clerks in the past, and I believe there is some works underway by the strategy strategy partnerships and communication team that look after the forum to start to change how that's operated so that it becomes more dynamic with more councillor involvement. So we have engaged through that to provide updates, but from a planning department perspective, we remain open to engage with all parish councils on any areas concerning the parish business, including neighbourhood development plans. To take your point on the letter, obviously the letter from 2021 was when we initiated plan review, and when the district council or district did not have a 5-year housing land supply, because that had particular implications for the status of neighbourhood development plans had it have fallen below 3 years. And I'm quite happy that we write again with a formal update to parish councils if that's felt to be of assistance. But I think we'd been engaging through the parish forum as the formal mechanism to do so.
Thank you. I think I'm on this as chair of PG&A. I don't know when the meeting is, so I'd be grateful if somebody actually told me so I can attend the Parish Clerks Forum as well, because I think that's what we should be doing. I thank Councillor Pratt for that, those questions, because I do feel there is a lack of communication, even to this council, regarding the updates of the local development plan. This was raised and we was told off by Mr Dodson at SNR last week because it was raised and it wasn't the place to debate it. But at some stage, we do need all the information to come to council and to members regarding the update. And as chair of PG&A, we are here to keep an eye on things for this council, and we should be asking questions. Oh, yeah, just forgive me 1 minute. I know you want to come back, but if you just forgive me 1 moment. And I would actually ask that it is a priority now. It says here that the target completion is 2026. Now, knowing how long, Councillor Pratt was a member of the council when the last LDP was formulated and approved, knowing how long it can take to get policies through, coming through to members agreeing, disagreeing, going to the EIP hearing, etc. I do think we need to, this is a technical term, get a wriggle on and start to inform members of what is going on regarding our LDP, if you don't mind, Mr Winslow. And I'm going to give way now to Mr Dodson. Thank you.
Thank you, Chair. I just wanted to clarify, because it was referred to, what I said at Strategy and Resources Committee. And the issue was that some of the detail of policy development was in danger of being discussed within that meeting. And I think the point I was making was that needs to happen through the due process that is set out. However, I do absolutely take the Chair's point that through this group, the process needs to be held to account. and through the strategy and resources and full council, that process, which is through the planning policy working group to undertake the work, and the process review through all member briefings to ensure all members are fully informed of that process, and then through council for those policy decisions to be made. And it's also really important that the parishes are kept in touch through the parish forum with the process which is happening, which is as been set out there, that's happening. And I understand that the next parish forum is towards the end of July, and we'll be able to provide you with the date for that. And I think that would be great if you, as chair of this committee, would be able to attend.
Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you very much. Thank you for the update. Councillor Burwood.
Correct me if I'm wrong, Mr Winslow, but you seem to suggest that the letter in 2021 only went out to parish councils with a neighbourhood plan. I think it's really important that all parish councils get it. I know my own parish council in Heybridge doesn't have a neighbourhood plan, but we would still like to know what's going on across the district. Thank you.
Mr Winslow, thank you.
The letter I was referring to was dealing with a risk to the neighbourhood development plans, hence why they got the letter. But obviously there has been correspondence at the formal consultation periods as well. So issues and options consultation in 2021, 2022, where all parish councillors were informally engaged. But I think the emphasis that Mr Dodson also alluded to there was that the parish forums are one of the additional mechanisms to engage with the parishes going forwards.
Okay.
Thank you.
Councillor Burwood? No, again. Councillor Bassinger.
Thank you, Chair. Mr Winslow, I guess it's another one for you again. For me, it would just be interesting to know, or to sort of get some indication of which policies, if any, have been reviewed or are going to be reviewed, and where we are with those. Just so it's something sort of a bit more tangible, because I do understand that the whole LDP needs to be reviewed, but it would be, I think, interesting for this committee to be able to sort of keep track of exactly what is being reviewed, or what's happening right now, and how far that is, and which policies you're looking at, just so as we sort of, it's a little bit more defined rather than just the whole scope, because it's a very broad church, isn't it?
Mr Winslow, please. Thank you.
Certainly, thank you, Chair. So the report to Strategy and Resources Committee did the chair of the Planning Policy Working Group's report, I should say, did start to go through the policies that had been, or the policy programme, if you like, of reviews that had been or underway or had been completed by the Planning Policy Working Group. I certainly don't have any issue in bringing a more detailed update. We obviously have had the request, which we're currently trying to arrange as well, for the all-member briefing, and that would be perhaps also a good opportunity for all members to find out at what stage different policies are at, which ones are currently slightly ahead of others, because there's various evidence that's being prepared that's at a slightly different timeline. So yes, that's not a problem.
Okay. 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 So, oh, sorry, Councillor Morgan, I missed you. Thank you.
Easily done. Thank you, Chair. Just following on from Councillor Bassinger's sort of question, have you identified which policies we don't need to change and which therefore can be just left and retained? That might help clearly.
Thank you, Chair. I'm afraid the vast majority of policies in the current local development plan need reviewing to some extent, because, as I alluded to earlier, the current local development plan is quite an old local development plan as the suites of English local development plans go. They have to be prepared slightly differently now. They have to have a strategic section, and then more detailed policies can follow later. There is also a sideline implication which we're having to manage at the moment, which is that the government were looking at introducing national development management policies, which would mean that you wouldn't be required to prepare detailed local development management policies in local development plans. So we're having to keep an eye on that. We haven't got the national development management policies yet, but once we have them, we'll then be able to work out which policies will, going forwards, no longer be needed in the local development plan and where the gaps are, if you see what I mean. So we are keeping an eye on the national changes which impact on the local development plan, but we have already reviewed, if you like, the suite of policies that are in the policy framework, and the vast majority of them do need changing to some degree.
Thank you. I'm going to go to Mr Dodson first and then Councillor Driver.
Yes, thank you, Chair. It's just to observe. I think whilst the questions are relevant around the content of the actions within there, it's the role of the Performance Governance and Audit Committee to check that progress is being made, rather than to get into the detail around those. There are other mechanisms through which the detail around the development of those policies can be accessed and interrogated. So it's just that observation, Chair. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you. But it's important this committee does raise the queries and the questions if we think something's not being done. But I totally take on board what you've said. So the Councillor Driver.
Thank you, Chair. This is following on a theme here, really, because there has been a number of discussions in relation to arriving at a point where we have a simple list of the policies that need to be reviewed, and against them where we are in terms of progress in reviewing them. Now that seems to me would help everybody. It would help you, and it would help us to track where we are in relation to progress against those policy developments. And at the moment, we don't seem to have that in a clear, simple format, because I don't think it needs to be complicated. It just needs to outline what are the policies that are being reviewed, and against each of them, where are we? And then a time scale, against when we hope that will be completed. A few sides of A4 would sort of help if that was possible. Thank you.
Mr Winslow.
I think we can do that, so that's not a problem.
Thank you. So I'd like to add to the recommendation. The recommendation is that the committee reviews the annual governance statements, table and updates below and challenges where necessary. I'd like to add an action to that. So this will be for matters arising, Ms Bird, if that's okay with you, that we actually do issue the new updated letter as agreed by Mr Winslow to all parish and town councils, whether they have an NDP or not. With current government guidance and a clear instruction from this council, because I raised a query of 2 different bits of information coming from this council regarding advice from neighbourhood development plans a short time ago. So obviously there are councils who do have them adopted, and they were told not to do it until Maldon district had done their review of the LDP. Now, unless the laws change, that is not my understanding. You can do it alongside it, as long as, well, I don't need to say it. Mr Winslow's here and he's the expert. I'm the armchair critic. So, Mr Winslow, is that okay that we add that to the recommendation?
Yes, that's fine, Chair.
Thank you. So I propose to have a seconder. Thank you very much, members. Do we agree? Thank you, members. Thank you very much. And we're going to move on to agenda item 14. And Miss Hughes, you can have a little cup of tea now, because it's not you this time, is it, on agenda item 14? So let's go on to agenda item 14. This is the health and safety update Q4, and this is going to be presented by Ms Wheatley with the support of Mr Baccarini if required. So thank you, Ms Wheatley.
Thank you, Chair. So our Health and Safety Manager continues to work with colleagues across the authority to embed a culture of health and safety, and last quarter saw further improvements in this respect. The number of accidents and near misses being reported demonstrates that officers are following the correct process to notify the Health and Safety Manager, and this is seen as a positive indicator. Steps are taken to mitigate against risks associated with accidents and near misses, and staff are encouraged to report all instances. There are now health and safety risk tables in all service plans, ensuring that managers are reporting on the health and safety actions relevant to their team on a monthly basis. Our health and safety manager has since delivered a series of bite-sized sessions on each of these health and safety areas to underpin the requirements of managers. I'll now hand over to our health and safety manager, Mr. Paul Baccarini, to provide a detailed update for quarter 4. Thank you.
Welcome, Mr. Baccarini. Would you like to do your presentation?
Yes, thank you.
Thank you.
Yes, so I present the corporate health and safety performance for 1st of January to 31st of March. It starts on page 139 of my report. I hope that accords with your...
Not mine.
I'm not sure if it does. I know there was some discrepancy.
No, it's 161, Mr. Baccarini. Don't worry, members will kind of catch up. It's agenda item 14, so they'll be on the ball, so don't you worry about that.
Thank you. So the recommendations are that members consider the accidents, incidents and unacceptable behaviour that's been reported, and that they consider the progress being made in the key health and safety themes. In section 3.1.1, we have a summary of the accidents and incidents over the period. We had 6 accidents and incidents, comprising of 5 incidents involving damage to an asset and 1 accident where there was an injury. It is notable that all of the incidents involved vehicles or ride-on equipment, whilst the injury involving an employee was not work-related in the stricter sense of the definition. Of the near-miss and hazard reporting in the second table, there were 2 near-misses and 1 hazard reported over the period. 1 was investigated due to its potential significance. In section 3.2.1, we have details of 3 reports of unacceptable behaviour that were received. 1 involved a member of the public in reception, 1 via telephone, and 1 was a referral from a partner organisation. I'd like to inform members that we're closely monitoring incidents we receive in person, particularly in the reception area of the offices, and this is in light of a more recent occurrence not reported in these figures. You may remember that we started to highlight the mode or method of unacceptable behaviour in the middle of last year. In section 3.2.1, there is a table reporting progress on our health and safety actions. There's nothing of particular note for this quarter as work continues. However, the action in row 2, the table concerning communication, is expanded upon in its own topic under the title of Health and Safety Groups in section 3.3. For the item on Health and Safety Groups, I'm pleased to report that 2 staff groups have now been established to discuss health and safety issues, such as health and safety activities, health and safety policy, and also to review accidents and incidents. The Safety Action Group, comprising of health and safety representatives from a range of departments, saw good attendance, including from the union representative, and this saw approval of its terms of reference. The group will convene on a quarterly basis. Similarly, a senior managers group also met and agreed to meeting every 6 weeks. Action from this group will be tracked and minutes circulated. One topic that's been the focus of the senior managers team has been to the risk rating of council departments and pairing of these to health and safety activities that are required to ensure compliance with the law. These activities are now being embedded in the corporate service plans so that health and safety performance can be assessed and reported in future. In the system resources section in 3.4, I show members the developing system, where the first table shows the required health and safety activities paired with department risk, and the second figure, a bar chart, which shows the status of each team in assigning, reviewing and completing the various health and safety activities. I'm not focusing on the data in that chart at the moment because it's all very early stage at this moment.
Excellent.
Most departments have 10 general safety activities.
Mr. Baccarini, you broke up. We got to 3.4.1, the task by service plan area. So if you can just go back from when you did that.
So there's section 3.4, I show members the developing system. That's the first table, shows health and safety activities that have been declared with department risk. And the second figure, which is a bar chart, which shows the status of each team in assigning, reviewing and completing the various health and safety activities. You will see that most departments have 10 general health and safety activities or themes as default for completion. However, as demonstrated by environmental health, waste and climate, there is scope to add more targets or activities if so desired. Moving on to further sections, section 3.5, fire risk assessment. I can provide
You've frozen again, Mr. Baccarini.
in the main.
I think
Apologies.
it's not your fault. I think members can read the rest of the report, Mr. Baccarini, if you don't mind. I'm sorry to cut you off, but it's very distracting if we can't hear you. Members, thank you very much. Members, do we have any questions for Mr. Baccarini? Councillor Pratt, please.
Thank you, Chair. The notification of accidents, I'm not really sure that someone tripping over in their lunch break in Maldon High Street is really worthy of noting. That concerns me that we're actually drilling down that far. But the item that I wanted some explanation on is, do our reception people, predominantly reception people, but do officers in general get some form of confrontation training? Because the incidents that are mentioned here are often people just getting frustrated or angry with what they're hearing, and bouncers in general get training where they're saying you're not coming in jeans and trainers. They learn how to say that so that they don't get beaten up. I just wonder if we have any sort of training for officers that avoid these instances.
I think
Thank
we've
you.
had it, but I'll let Miss Wheatley or Mr. Baccarini answer that one. Oh, sorry, is it Miss Green? Sorry, you two, you stand by.
Thank you, Chairman. So yes, I can confirm that all of our frontline staff have been given that training last year. The incidents that are referred to there are quite extreme incidents. So as our customers team and our frontline staff deal with people who are frustrated, annoyed, angry all of the time, and that would not in itself generate this type of report, because we do understand people are frustrated. This is where it goes beyond where staff are threatened or where the behaviour is becoming frightening, unreasonable. So what's in here is really where that goes to another level. What we are looking to do is to implement some recording where we're able to monitor the overall levels of unacceptable behaviour, because we do have a significant amount of incidents which fall below that kind of level. So actually what you're seeing here is the more extreme examples. We've actually got an awful lot that sits below that, which we don't formally monitor. So what we're looking to do is to try and again get that full picture of the sort of levels of unacceptable behaviour that staff are subjected to, because although these are the extreme ones, actually if you're subjected to unreasonable behaviour constantly, that can be just as much of an issue in terms of how that member of staff is feeling than a one-off incident. So we're looking to, as Mr. Baccarini referred to, we've had an increase in the number of quite more extreme examples of behaviour, and we're looking to do at the moment a review to see if there's any lessons to learn, is there any additional support we need to put in place for our staff, and to look at how we can avoid these situations occurring. So that is part of a review that is ongoing at the moment.
Councillor Pratt.
Thank you for letting me come back. Ms. Green, if you're reviewing it, the Parking Partnership, who had similar sort of problems when I was there, they invested in body cams, and it virtually shut that abuse down. Soon as the abuser starts seeing, are you filming me, takes a lot of the steam out of it. So perhaps in your review you would actually consider using body cams.
Ms. Green.
Thank you, Chairman. Yes, that's certainly something we will consider. Most of these incidents do occur in our reception area, which has CCTV in with the warning signs up. And unfortunately, these types of behaviour are not being deterred in any way, shape or form. But what is good is that CCTV is able to be used then in terms of progressing any serious incidents. And we have done that with the police on a couple of occasions.
Well, they're quite close by, aren't they? Okay, members. Councillor Bassinger, please.
Thank you, Chair. I was just wondering, when you say we're reviewing the sort of types and what's acceptable and what isn't, do we not have a zero policy, sort of like the NHS, where sort of any form of abuse is unacceptable?
Thank you, members. Yes, that is our policy. It is zero. However, we also recognise that when people come into, if they're homeless, they might have drug, alcohol addictions, etc., then sometimes their behaviour is unreasonable and sometimes it is out of their control to an extent. So our staff are trained in how to manage those, how to de-escalate, how to try and assist. So that is absolutely the tactics we employ. And that we do manage the majority of those cases without needing to be escalating. And these are the ones, as I said, that are kind of the tip of the iceberg. So I think because in particular with the face-to-face and to an extent the telephone, the people that we're dealing with, a lot of them are in a really difficult position. They are angry, they're frustrated, they're worried. So naturally their behaviour probably isn't in what you would expect in a day-to-day basis. So I think it is about tolerance, but equally the level of tolerance is down to that individual member of staff. So absolutely those staff, they can report it at any point. We don't give them those tolerance levels. It is up to the staff to say, actually, I find that offensive, I find that unacceptable. And any member of staff can put in that report at any point. But naturally, with the type of clients that we're dealing with and with the situations people find themselves in, our staff do understand that perhaps it isn't going to always be a straightforward conversation, and we do train them for that.
Great, thank you.
Thank you. Councillor Driver.
Thank you, Chair. I want to refer to item 3.2, health and safety actions, 3.2.1, emergency procedures, and the action to revise and improve fire evacuation procedures. If a fire were to break out and the alarm was to ring, what would then happen? In broad terms.
Who would like to answer that question? Mr. Baccarini or Ms. Green?
Sorry, Chair, could you just repeat that question again?
Oh, sorry, no, Councillor Driver, please.
Yeah, the question is, if the fire alarm were to be rung, in broad terms, what would then happen?
If I can answer directly, there would be a muster, people would evacuate and they would meet at the muster point. Without new logging in or out of the building, a tablet or a phone would be used to call out numbers or names of people that are registered as being in the building.
Okay, if somebody wasn't registered, or you had people using the CAB or coming into reception, what would happen to them in the case of a fire?
At the moment, the partners are responsible for themselves. The reception area, because it's very near to the exit, it can be easily swept by our staff on the way out to the muster point. The reception is an area, for want of a better description, like a sort of sterile area where no one needs to register their presence. But once you go beyond that area, you're considered to be an occupant.
Okay, well, the issue in my mind is actually you would need to be assured that actually everybody who walked into the building was indeed registered, and actually if it was to take, a fire was to take place at say 9 o'clock after this meeting, for instance, who would be outside at the muster point with a tablet? I'm not quite clear in my mind the practicalities of how that works. If it works and you're confident that actually there would be somebody and people would know who that person is with the tablet, at whatever the muster point is, I'm fair enough. But my experience in organisations with thousands of users is that actually when you have a lot of people in a building, you end up having to have fire marshals and you sweep the building. And that was the way in which we operated and have operated. My experience has been operating in that way. And that was indeed the recommendation of the fire officers who used to review our fire procedures. So it's if this is a system that you are confident is robust, okay.
Yes.
We just respond. We do have trained fire marshals. They would be the ones, along with duty managers, that would be taking that roll call. I should have said that at the start, so apologies there. So it would be the fire marshals, either from their phone that can access the register, or a tablet which is kept at reception. The reason why we've not set dedicated names on each specific day is because of the way we work is quite difficult. Some people don't work routine, so we've kind of got this floating cover. We believe we've trained enough fire marshals that have got access to the app that could do that, fulfil that role. I do realise it needs to be tested, and this is the drill that's being referred to in the text. We're planning a drill to test that fully.
Okay, thank you.
Councillor Driver. Councillor Morgan.
Yeah, thank you, Chair. Since I have actually personal experience of how dangerous this is, do we keep any record of the health and safety of sewers, our waste contractors, and their interaction with the residents at all?
Is that you, Miss Green? No? Oh, sorry.
Thank you, Chair. So just to confirm, sewers are responsible for their own health and safety, and obviously take health and safety extremely seriously. They are required to maintain records of any incidents involving members of the public and or themselves. Those incidents are reported at our regular contract management meetings, so they're reported back to staff. Where we have incidents that involve members of the public, those are also fed back up to Paul and his team so that he can consider whether there any further action needs to be taken from Maldon's perspective.
Thank you. I just thought it might be helpful if those incidents were reported in this report as well. I don't know if anyone else thinks that.
Okay, I was going to ask the question of how often it's been tested, but I think you answered that, Mr. Baccarini. It hasn't been tested. And when was the last time it was tested? And I'm sure it will be tested very soon. Now it's been raised at this committee. So, Councillor Stilts.
Thank you. Going off of the fire one, you've got on your incident reports that a member of staff drove over a war memorial, or a gravestone, a memorial gravestone in the cemetery, and another one where a ride or mower hit and impacted the grave. Were they actually our members or were they contractors? That's one question I would ask. And also, are we then responsible for any damage that was committed to those gravestones?
Mr. Baccarini.
Yes, thank you, Chair. I'll answer the previous questions before. There was one on waste. I'll just mention that the accidents and incidents from our waste contractor are reported to me on a quarterly basis. I do have those. That's just started. To answer you, Chair, with the last drill that we had for fire was in December of last year. That was before the tablets were brought in, and that's why we now know that we need to obviously do it again with that system. So sorry, to get back to the point, to the gravestones, they were, I believe, both incidents involving staff members. As regards to our responsibilities, I unfortunately didn't go further than that. I left that to the supervisor of the parks team to deal with any damage. I don't believe it was significant in terms of cracking stones. It was just merely that they needed repositioning. So I think it was something that we could possibly rectify.
Okay, thank you. Members, I'm going to move us on. We've got a long agenda. Thank you, Mr Baccarini. You've answered really well, so I do appreciate that. Any more questions? No. So, members, the recommendation is the members consider the accident and incident statistics and incidences of unacceptable behaviour reported, and little 2, that members consider progress of key health and safety themes as per section 3.2. I so propose. Do I have a seconder? Councillor Stilts. Members, do agree by assent? Thank you. Let's move on to agenda item 15, which is going to be presented by Mr Winslow. It is the Maldon District Biodiversity Report, and if you can emphasise it is a legal requirement. Thank you very much, Mr Winslow.
Just by means of summary, this report is a new statutory requirement on the council as a public body and responds to its new responsibilities under the Environment Act 2021, which have been to enhance how we protect and enhance biodiversity across the district. Public bodies, which are also local planning authorities like Maldon District Council, must also consider what action it can take to further the general biodiversity objective through its planning functions. This includes delivering and the monitoring of biodiversity net gain, which is now a mandatory requirement on most new development in the district and indeed in England. The report sets out what the Council currently does to conserve and enhance biodiversity as part of all of its functions, and not just its planning functions, and how the Council will meet those new challenges posed by its new duties in respects of reviewing policies, any partnership work it's doing, and any actions in delivering through service plans. Thank you.
Okay, members, do we have any questions? Councillor Morgan, please.
Just thanks, Chair. Do I sort of take it that because of our geographical location, I think we've got the longest coastline of any district council in the country, and the river, that our biodiversity requirements are a bit more complicated than many other districts?
I don't think we are the longest, but I'm not a professional here, so I'm going to hand over to Mr Winslow or Miss Cable, who can answer that more fully. Thank you.
I know that we have 75 miles of coastline. Yes. I don't know if it is, personally, I don't know if it is the longest, so we would have to clarify that particular point. In terms of, does it make does our geography make biodiversity more complicated or more complex? It's certainly having a coastal and estuarine environment alongside a landside environment does make our biodiversity much more diverse than some areas would have. Yes, certainly.
Okay, members, I think it's quite self-explanatory. It's a very comprehensive report. So the recommendation is that the Maldon District Biodiversity Report, first consideration 2024 to 2026, Appendix 1 be approved. I so moved. Do I have a seconder? Councillor Pratt. Members, do we agree by assent? Agreed. Thank you very much. Moving on to agenda item 16. This is the infrastructure statement, and this is Miss Altoft-Shortland, please. Welcome. Would you like to present your report?
Yes, this is the yearly infrastructure funding statement that the government asks us to produce. It has to be published by the 1st of December each year, but we've tied it in with the financial year reporting because it just makes more sense, really. It sets out the money in and the money out for our planning obligations. It's pretty self-explanatory, and it runs from page 191 to 201 on your agenda.
Okay. Miss Altoft-Shortland, would you like to just indicate to members of the little email exchanges we've had, and that you're going to try and bring some further information to the next committee meeting regarding the Section 106?
Yes.
Please, I think members would find that really helpful, so thank you.
You raised with us a way of presenting the expiry dates on Section 106 to make sure that we're not missing any of those.
Yeah.
So I'm going to try and work out a way of doing that so that we can report it every year in the same format, and we'll bring that to the next meeting.
Okay. And could I also ask you, because you will monitor it, if there's an area of concern, you will bring it up at COT or to whoever, so we don't lose that funding, won't you?
Oh, yes.
Thank you. Thank you. I just want to be clear that members rest assured that it is being monitored. Okay, so do we have any questions? Councillor Stilts, please.
Just one quick question. We've got on page 199, you've got open space allotments. We've got an amount that is allowed or allocated to allotments. Do we have any allotments that have been actually coming from this?
Let's have a look.
Page 199.
199.
Oh, thank you. Yeah, 14,000.
So we're due in another 14,500. We have spent some money on allotments because we sent, I think it was £8,000 Burnham on Crouch Town Council for allotments.
You did.
I think it was 2 years ago.
Yes, you did.
Most allotments are provided on site. We don't get funding for them. They're actually on site provision. So when the funding comes in, whatever the clause, that section 106, where it says it's got to be spent, that's where we'll spend it.
Yeah, Councillor Driver, please.
Yes, thank you, Chair. In relation to that, some of the allotment provision will be identified presumably by developers, and therefore as part of their scheme there will be an area where the allotments would be provided as opposed to us purchasing them. Is that correct?
Sorry, what was the question?
So in terms of purchase, in most cases, won't the allotments that come our way via an S106 come via a developer who will identify an area of land within the development which will be handed over for allotments? Is that not how most of the allotments would come our way?
Yes, it is, yes. And then we go and check to make sure that they have actually been done.
Okay, because I am aware that actually, in terms of the Handy Gardens development, Maldon Town Council have been approached with allotments that have been made available, and we've been asked. Well, Maldon Town Council have been asked to actually manage those allotments, and there was a little uncertainty in terms of the formal process for doing that. Is it sort of handed over to Maldon District Council, who then hand it over to the Town Council, or does the developer hand it directly to a Town Council? So there was a little confusion about how that process works.
Did you get that, Ms Shortland?
Yeah,
Altaf Shortland?
It would depend on what the section 106 says. So I can have a look to see what Handy Gardens says, and I can either report back to this committee, or I can report straight to Councillor Driver.
Straight to Councillor
Yes,
Driver,
please. Yeah,
members,
that'd be
I think,
helpful.
unless
Thank you.
anybody else wants to know about it. That would be absolutely fantastic. Councillor Pratt, please, and then Councillor Morgan.
On table 7 on page 199, I noticed that there's a 6-figure number, £965,000, waiting to be spent on health. Could I have some explanation on what that money's for?
Did you get that? Can we have an explanation on the health sum, the £965,987.25? Can you elaborate on that, please?
Oh, it'll be all sorts of things. It depends what the clauses say for each of the individual section 106 says. So on the table that I sent members a table through an Excel spreadsheet. You can filter that table to health, and then you can go down and see what each clause says, or I can send a filtered version with health round.
To be honest, I think that would be really helpful if it's not too much work for you, because it's a lot of money. Yeah, thank you. Members, is that acceptable? It comes back to all members of the committee.
Yeah.
Good question. Councillor Pratt, would you like a follow-up?
No, that's fine.
No, thank you. Thank you. Councillor Morgan.
Well, actually, you probably just answered the question, really, because I noticed that looking at table 6, we've got health being paid out is what 52,861. I just wondered what happens. How is that practically dealt with? Do you just sign the cheque and leave it at that, or do we follow up, or how is that actually handled? And we ensure that we're getting value for money.
Table number 6, obviously there's been some expenditure for health. Councillor Morgan would like to know the process on what that money has been spent on. I know some of it has gone to Burnham Surgery, and I presume other surgeries had applied for some funding from that. So if you can just maybe give 1 or 2 examples for Councillor Morgan, please.
So what happens is when health wants some funding, because I meet them about every 6 weeks, they discuss that. Then they send me a formal application, and I check to make sure that it does actually conform to the agreement. Now, what is the new process is they have to fill in a form which sets out why they want the money, and then that goes through myself and Matt Winslow to get signed off, and then they get sent the money.
Are we happy with that, members? Okay, let's move on. Councillor Stilts, do you have a question? No, okay. So, members, recommendation is that the committee considers the update of Section 106 planning obligations, and little 2, that the Maldon District Council infrastructure funding statement for the financial year 2023 to 2024 be approved for publication as set out in Appendix 1. I so move. Do I have a seconder, please? Councillor Stilts. Thank you very much. Members, do we agree by assent? Thank you very much. Let's move on to agenda item 17. This is the UK Shared and Rural England Prosperity Funds, and this is going to be presented by Miss Cable. Thank you very much, Miss Cable. And don't forget, you are going to include something on this.
I won't forget. If it's okay with you, Chair, I'll pause after delivering 3.1 of the presentation, which is specifically about the UK Share Prosperity Fund, and allow members to ask questions if they have any.
I'm happy with that, members. Is everybody agreeable? Thank you very much.
Thank you. So the report sets out the spend and the activity so far delivered on the UK Share Prosperity Fund and latterly the Rural England Prosperity Fund. Appendix 1 sets out the projects being delivered via the funding over the 3-year period and their current status. At the time of writing this report, all of the funding of £1 million has been allocated to the progression of projects and agreed costs for management and administration. The current financial year of 24-25 is the 3rd and final year of UK SPF delivery. Officers will be working extremely closely with project managers to ensure the delivery is on track, completed within budget and ahead of the deadline of the 31st of March 2025. Currently, less than 25% of the total pot has been spent. However, many of the projects were scheduled to be delivered in the current financial year as per the profile from government. If projects are not delivered by the 31st of March 2025, this will require a return of any unspent monies to the Department of Levelling Up, Housing and Communities, unless an extension is granted. However, no further information has been provided from government regarding any potential extension or continuation of funds. Thank you, Chair.
Members, do you have any questions for Appendix 1? Councillor Stilts, please.
Thank you. It's just a query on page 215. Right at the bottom, we talk about the men's shed relocation. Can you tell me why there's such a big difference from the original budget to the revised budget?
Thank you.
Yes, of course. When the original development of the investment plan was scoped out, which was in 2022, 23, the costings and the pricings then were deemed on sort of not best guess, but estimate scenario. As obviously we've worked through the delivery of this project and we've sought advice from quantity surveyors and sought further clarification on the quotations, the price and the demand in the sector, particularly for the construction trade, has increased significantly. That is due to economic factors outside of the council's control, such as the cost of living, etc., which affects not just residents, but also the companies we're engaging with, and the supply chain issue as well, of availability of materials.
Yes, Councillor Stilts.
Thank you. I'm just going to come back on that because when I read what you've written down as an update on that, It looks like it has completely stalled at the moment, reading that update.
So just to come back to that, this report was written a month or prior to tonight. Since then, we've actually had progressive conversations to get those figures ratified by quantity surveyor, and a suitable procurement route has been established to award the contract so that delivery can be within the 31st of March.
It's really tricky for you, isn't it? It's it's a difficult task. Any other members? Councillor Driver, please. Thank you.
Yes, a couple of things. So on page 216, Lower High Street improvements, this was part of the Central Area Master Plan Project 2. We've spent nothing to date on whether actually this is in danger of not being developed and us losing the funding. Is that correct?
This is a conversation I've had with the chair prior to the meeting. The issue we have is that the works have been agreed and costed. Unfortunately, we're having some difficulty with the continued engagement with the Highways Authority, and we are progressing that through formal routes to request that they re-engage with us. That's not just this project that's been affected by that lack of engagement. It's actually other projects in the council as well, which are funded through external sources. So it is a priority, and a draft letter has been written to request formal re-engagement.
So can I just... Sorry, Chair, could I come
Yes,
back?
you can. Thank you.
So just to clarify then, the 105, so is it that we haven't received the money? Is it that as yet Essex are not engaging with us to deliver the project? Where is the problem? Is it money or is it delivery? Or is it both?
Be tactful.
It's the latter. It's the issues around engagement from the Highways Authority to deploy, to sign the contract with us, for us to defray the money, and then to deploy the work that needs to be done. The background work has been done and has been agreed, but we are yet to have them respond to requests for them to send the service level agreement or contract for delivery to us.
Okay.
Rest assured, Mr. Dodson's going to be on the case.
Right, okay, and one other, if I may.
You certainly may.
That's the District Accessibility Promenade Park and Accessible Play Sensory Garden element. I know, I mean, the budget has gone up. I understand that this is because we're using that funding for the new boat and lighthouse, as I understand it. Is that correct? And if that is, am I at cross purposes here?
I'm unsure, so I need a bit of clarification there. Ms. Lucas.
I don't want to speak definitively, but I'm pretty sure that the it's not funding the Galleon project, which is part of the council's own capital programme. This is the separate area of the promenade park at the top, which is going to be redeveloped. So it's a separate area of the park. Yeah.
Well, okay. Well, I see the budget has gone up considerably, but we've not spent anything to date. Is that equally in danger if we are not spending anything as yet?
I think Councillor Driver's just identified an error in my report, actually.
I was looking at thinking...
Thank you. If you're doing that very tactfully, I appreciate that. The revised budget is actually it should say 110,000, I do apologise. This project was always supposed to be delivered in year 3, the current year, and actually what we're doing is utilising this funding to support the delivery of the sensory garden, which was reviewed for public consultation in 2018, if Ms Green, if that's correct. And this will support the delivery. That is completely separate to the development works at the Galleon, for which planning permission was recently received.
I thought that this was a separate project, but that's reassured me that...
Can I just have confirmation that the revised budget is 110,000, the same as the original budget?
That is correct. That's an error on my part.
That's absolutely fine. Okay, no need for apology. Thank you. Anybody else? Councillor Stilts.
Yeah, just coming back onto that section there. this bit with the sensory garden and the accessible play, that's where the children's climbing frames and things that some of them have been removed. Wasn't that looked at in 2020 or something about replacing those and using some of the S106 money for that?
I'm not sure on the 106 money. I'm going to apologise again because I've said something out of turn, which hopefully the chair knows is not normally like me. So actually, the two projects identified on district accessibility, the combined projects, there's one delivered in Promenade Park and one now being developed in Burnham on Crouch, and that's 120 for Burnham and Crouch and 110 for Maldon. I do apologise.
It's fine.
So that is the combined budget of both projects, but the allocation originally for the accessibility was 110 at Promenade Park solely. So there's the residual from the pontoon, which has been allocated towards the accessible play at Burnham. And to refer to the question, it's separate from any Section 106 funding.
Okay, thank you for clarity. Everybody makes mistakes. Miss Green.
Thank you, Chair. Just to clarify that the works referred to for Promenade Park in return to in respect of the sensory garden is the play equipment. It's not the actual original sensory garden that was consulted on. So what will be done is phase 1 is this year, and that will be the equipment that's been replaced. Phase 2 will be next year, and that's when we're looking at the maze and all the other sensory parts of the garden. So phase 1 is just the equipment, so that is what is being delivered through the UK SPF funds that we're talking about tonight. And the 106 funds are, I won't confuse members, but essentially there is a separate capital funding next year to deliver all of the other sensory elements of the garden. So as I said, the redevelopment of the maze, etc. So that the sensory garden will be delivered in 2 phases.
So it's 2 separate funds really that you're going to put together to
yes.
deliver. Yeah, I think that's quite clear. Councillor Morgan.
Through you, Chair, to Ms Cable. In fact, the sensory garden project was a referral to ON, or by Councillor Spenceley to ONS, and I believe is going to be discussed by the working group on Thursday. Have you already sort of provided us with our answer to the query, I wonder?
Sorry, could you repeat the question again, Councillor Moore?
Yeah, the sensory garden was a referral by Councillor Spenceley to ONS committee, and is due to be again, that referral is going to be looked at the working group on Thursday as regards what happened to the project and how it's going to be going forward. I'm just wanting to know whether you've sort of effectively already answered that question.
I defer to Ms Green to respond to that.
I'm going to go to Ms Lucas first, who's going to give me a little bit of advice on this one, because I think it's separate. Yeah.
Apologies. Yeah, I think the element that you're referring to is outside of the UK SPF, which is probably why Mrs Cable's not aware of it. But I think, yes, if Sue Green can just provide an update, because I believe you're the one that's been engaged in terms of that piece. Thanks.
Thank you, Member. So yes, that is exactly the update that is going to overview and scrutiny to explain that that project is being delivered in 2 parts. So one part, which is the equipment, is being delivered through UK SPF, and the other part has been delivered as a separate project, which is in next year and is capital funding by the council.
Okay.
Thank you. I look forward to hearing more detail on Thursday. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Would you like to continue with your report, Ms Cable, please?
Thank you. So moving on to section 3.2 of the report, which concerns the Rural England Prosperity Fund. So the Council's Rural England Prosperity Fund, or REP programme, officially launched with an event on the 15th of February. At the time of writing this report, we had received 29 applications, 19 under the Supporting Rural Business element and 10 under Supporting Rural Communities. Of those applications, 12 have been approved to a value of just over £365,000, with circa £65,000 remaining. Due to the number and the value of the applications received, officers paused accepting new submissions, and once the existing applications have been reviewed and potentially approved, there may be an opportunity to reopen the process for new submissions. During the summer, officers from the Council and our delivery partner, the Rural Community Council of Essex, will work with the grant recipients to develop good news stories and case studies to demonstrate the value of the grants provided. The current financial year is the second and final year of the Rural England Prosperity Fund delivery, and officers and RCCE will be working closely with grant recipients to ensure proposed projects are delivered on track and completed within the deadline. No further information has been provided from government regarding any potential extension or continuations of funds at this current time.
It's good news for a change, isn't it, members? Hopefully we'll get some positive publicity soon instead of the negative. So, members, I'm opening it up for any further questions. I think it's quite a comprehensive report. I don't have any questions. Does anybody else? Okay, I'm going to move on then. So the recommendation is that the committee acknowledges the updated provided on Maldon District's UK Shared and Rural England Prosperity Fund allocations and continues to monitor the delivery. I so moved. Do I have a seconder? Councillor Driver, can we agree by assent, members? Thank you. Excellent. Right, we're going to move on to agenda item 18, which is the Audit Committee self-assessment, which, oh, you're back again, Miss Hughes. Did you have a nice cup of tea? Would you like to present your report, please?
So in March 2024, following the finance peer review and then consideration and recommendation by the working group of an example self-assessment tool, it was agreed by this committee to complete a self-assessment, and this was delegated to the working group. The working group have completed a review, and this is found at Appendix 1, which is page 221, 227 of your agenda pack. 4 actions have been suggested as a result of the review, and they are highlighted at section 3.5 of your covering report. Members may also consider to agree or to further add to these upon digestion of the self-assessment.
Okay, well, members, I was hoping to have Councillor Thompson here tonight because she was obviously part of this working group with, I think, Councillor Bell and I'm not sure, and who, Councillor Spenceley. So I'm afraid that we haven't got any more information other than the Appendix 1. Are there any questions? No, I'd like to propose an amendment if members agree, that is, because I'll read the recommendations and then I'll read the possible amendment, members. Recommendations little 1, that the Audit Committee self-assessment that has been completed by Performance, Governance and Audit Working Group Appendix 1 be endorsed. Little 2, that actions rising out of the self-assessment highlighted in section 3.4 be agreed, or the committee agrees any additional actions or amendments of these. And little 3, that self-assessment review is completed every 3 years. I would like to amend that to not be every 3 years. It's a new audit, self-assessment audit, and I would like to propose, if it's okay with you, we do it every 2 years, because that will go with the cycle of the elections as well. I'm hoping, or am I going to be out? Anyway, I'd like to do it every 2 years. Can I have a seconder for that, please? Thank you. Does members agree? Thank you very much. Is that all right with you, Miss Hughes? I didn't pass that by you, so please forgive me. I would normally let you know, but I only thought it at 5 o'clock when I was going again through the papers. So I proposed and agreed the recommendations and seconded Councillor Stilts, and we've all agreed. Thank you. Let's move on to agenda item 19. Bear with me, members. Let me just get myself in order. Okay. Council's Constitution Scheme of Delegation Service Delivery Directorate. This is being given by Miss Wheatley and Mr Chapman as a backup if she needs it. Right, Miss Wheatley.
Thank you, Chair. So following Council approval in March 2024 for delegated powers to move from the Director of Service Delivery to the 3 Assistant Directors, further approval is sought from members this evening in relation to powers for environmental health. Currently, the scheme of delegation refers to powers sub-delegated to roles that no longer exist, following the Phase 2 restructure within service delivery last year. It is therefore necessary to amend these job titles and complete housekeeping to keep the scheme of delegation up to date. The list of environmental health legislation has, of necessity, been updated and extended to cover the full range of environmental health as a basis for taking action, including follow-up legal action. The licensing element requires the authority to have different officers responsible for the two distinct functions it performs. The first being the principal one of the licensing authority, the second as a responsible authority in responding to consultations and making representations on licensing applications. These two roles will be fulfilled by the Assistant Director for Service Delivery and the Head of Environmental Health, Waste and Climate Action. As the report stresses, there is absolutely no change in substance proposed here. The extent and nature of the delegated powers remains the same. In other words, this is very much a housekeeping exercise. Along with Mr. Nick Chapman, our Head of Environmental Health, Waste and Climate Action, we're happy to answer any questions that you have. Thank you.
Members, does anybody have any questions? I have one question from a member of the committee, not this committee, of the council, and it's really just for confirmation. I think you explained quite fully the areas of delegation that you was referring to, but one member actually asked me to say, would it be advisable to wait until the full structure of the council had been agreed, like the proposed of changes? Do you agree with that or not? Probably not. Oh, sorry, I'm going to go to Mr. Dodson. Thank you.
Thank you, Chair. I would say it shouldn't wait. This is about tidying up and making sure that there are named officers. I think, as Mrs. Wheatley said, the environmental health is unusual within the delegation in that it names individual officers rather than a general delegation. So I think it's really important that it's up to date and named to those posts and that it's done now. Thank you.
Okay. All right. Thank you.
Just to add, Chair, owing to the work, obviously this work is ongoing and the team are currently out and about enforcing the legislation that is within the schedule. By tidying up this area of the Constitution, we are reducing operational risk that could come from an adverse challenge resulting from the wrong individuals being delegated powers at any particular time.
Okay, thank you. Thank you for clarification, but it's important all members are heard and they had an area of concern. So the recommendation is to the Council that the revised scheme of delegation to the Assistant Director, Place and Community and to other officers in relation to the Council's public and other licensing functions as proposed as shown in Appendix A to this report is agreed. I so propose. Seconded. Councillor Pratt, agreed by assent. Thank you, members. Excellent. Nearly there. Agenda item 20. Reference from overview and scrutiny. Well, we won't do this. Reference from overview and scrutiny committee, planning decision making. Bear with me. Miss Hughes, this is you again. Oh, no, sorry, Paul. Sorry, Mr. Dodson. Yeah, you present the report. Thank you.
Thank you, Chair. Yes, this is the outcome of over 12 months' work by the Overview and Scrutiny Committee, which originated from a notice of motion to Council, referred to the committee alongside another related decision of the Council, and directed towards the need for more robust and substantiated planning decisions. So this is Overview and Scrutiny reporting back to Council, commending courses of action, but via this Performance Governance and Audit Committee, given its governance remit and the implications for the constitutions. This will then be referred on to Council for adoption. The committee has looked at a wide range of advice and guidance around planning decision making and has been really diligent on understanding how the measures it is recommending would work in practice. Firstly, it recommends the introduction of a constitutional intervention or break, a deliberate pause in proceedings only if a planning committee is minded to overturn an officer's recommendation for approval. There'll be no decision at this point. This will effectively then defer consideration of the application at that point for a period of reflection to ensure all relevant advice and guidance is taken into account and that a decision of refusal can be properly substantiated and defended on appeal. The application will then return to the relevant committee for consideration afresh at the next scheduled meeting or a special meeting. If the Council adopts this proposal, it will mean that what is said on this subject in the Council's planning guidance document in the Constitution can be significantly strengthened by creating certainty as to what will happen. The break currently exists within the guidance, but it is purely guidance. This is being much more prescriptive about the process that should be followed. Para 3.2.8 of the report explains exactly how the proposed measure will work in practice. The second measure proposed is the introduction of advanced technical briefings for members on particularly complex applications. This will enable members to gain a better understanding and ask questions outside of the formality of the committee meeting. It's important to emphasise, however, that the holding of such briefings will in no way take the place of what will be presented and the information provided in the usual way at committee meetings. While this proposal has no direct constitutional implications, if adopted by the Council, the guidelines at Appendix A will be added to the operating protocols of the planning committees. Thank you, Chair.
Okay, so just to, before we go to Councillor Morgan, because I'm sure he wishes to speak on this, this already is in our constitution, isn't it? You said we actually do follow this as a process, and this is purely to strengthen it. It's not changing anything, is it?
That's correct.
All right, so I think that's important that we all understand that, because it is already there. I'm going to go to Councillor Bassinger and then Councillor Morgan. Councillor Pratt and then Councillor Morgan.
No.
Councillor Bassinger.
Who are we going for? Me?
You,
Just to clarify, although you're saying it's not changing anything, and it's not that I disagree or, I'm not sort of, but it is actually, because in the Constitution it's a recommendation, and now this is becoming sort of a fact, isn't it? If there is a refusal, then we have the pause, and then that's how it would work. It's becoming.
Mr. Dodson.
Yes, that's exactly right. It exists as an option, so the break is there. The break isn't something new. At the moment, it is a tool that's at the gift of the chair of the committee to apply. What this is saying is that should always be applied under these circumstances.
Exactly.
So
Thank you for the
you're right.
clarification. That's all I wanted.
No, you're right. Thank you. Councillor Pratt and then Councillor Morgan.
Thank you. A question and an observation. If we apply the break, how do we stand on non-determination? Because by the time you go through to the next meeting, we'll be out of time. And I believe that the technical briefings were a thing of the past. We used to have one at the start of every South East planning meeting. An officer would give us a 10-minute opportunity to have a doze. But the problem then was actually finding topics that are needed and necessary and just necessary. We were finishing up with just saying things because we had to fill a 10-minute slot with a briefing. How will you make sure that those are required?
Mr. Dodson. Oh, sorry. Mr. Dodson.
Thank you. I think the technical briefing is in relation to specific applications rather than a briefing at the start of each meeting. It's if it's a complex application for members to have a briefing so that they fully understand it going into the meeting, but the detail will still be presented in the meeting. In terms of the determination timeline, through you, Chair, I'd like to ask Mr. Winslow to respond to that.
Okay. And before Mr. Winslow comes in, we have had these before, though, haven't we? We have sat at, especially the large strategic sites, we have had this be introduced, so it does actually work presently. Mr. Winslow, please. Thank you.
So for applications where they're at risk of going out of time, that would obviously be known to officers ahead of going into the planning committee. In any case, the timeline that may otherwise exist if the committee doesn't make a decision on that day. Obviously, from an officer perspective, we will always try and negotiate extensions of time to provide enough headroom in that. In those circumstances, when we discussed it as part of the overview and scrutiny process, there may be situations like that where actually the risk of appeal due to non-determination is greater than making a decision at the committee. This is we would have to, for applications like that, we would have to manage that risk as officers with the chair of that planning committee. But What we're trying to do through our internal processes is ensure that there's enough headroom with applications coming to committee in as good time as possible.
Okay, Councillor Morgan.
Yes, thank you, Chair. I really would just sort of confine myself to saying that I know that this proposal has raised a number of hackles, not necessarily of members in this particular committee, but in within the council itself, with that sort of age-old concern that this is officers telling members what to do, etc. But I would commend it to this committee to put it forward to council. The record of the council in terms of facing appeals and losing them, and in certain cases being hit with considerable amount of costs against, I think requires us as a membership to make some form of situation or proposal to make sure that we minimise the risk of such adverse decisions being made, and therefore I commend it to the committee to put it forward to full council. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. So let's just be balanced. We also need to make sure at the end of the year we have the costs of planning appeals, whether they be whichever committee, because they often used to come to which area committee or district planning committee. That's always reported back to this committee. And against whether they're members' decisions or officers' decisions, because we all know, we all get the planning appeal, reports on a regular basis. So it's important that it is not just blamed at any members or particular members, whether it be this specific administration or a previous one, that we're actually looking just to try and improve it rather than blame. And I think it's really important, because if people weren't around when things happen, it's very easy to lay that blame at certain members' doors. So anyway, the recommendation is that will go to council, and the recommendation is little 1, that the proposals for the constitutional intervention or break by the way of a deferment, sorry members, I'm tired, I do apologise, and also for technical briefings, presentations be endorsed. Little 2, that's subject to little 1, above the consequential strengthening of the planning guidance in consultation and also the operating protocols of the planning committees as detailed below, be agreed. I so propose. Do I have a seconder? Councillor Morgan. Members, do we agree by assent? Agreed. Does anybody disagree? Okay, lovely. Right, I think we're on the last item of business, members. This is quite quick. So who's doing this one? Miss Hughes again. So I'm sorry you've had a really late night and a long day. So if you'd like to present this report.
So this report highlights municipal year appointments to be made by the committee. A few outside body appointments were moved across to strategy and resources this year as part of housekeeping, so there are no appointments to be made. 5 members are due to be appointed to the PGA working group. Additionally, I did email committee members earlier today to highlight an omission, which I apologise for. The report should also have included to appoint 2 member representatives to work on the project and improvement management framework. So it's additionally requested that members appoint 2 members to this role too.
Okay, right, members, it's quite self-explanatory. From the chair for the first working group, for the 5 members of the committee, I would like to propose from the chair that it's myself, Councillor Stilts and Councillor Spenceley. We need 2 more members. Do we have any more nominations and agree? Does anybody else want to sit on that committee? Councillor Morgan. You can't.
At the risk of being cheeky, can I nominate Councillor Thompson?
You can't sit on it. You're an O&S. Councillor Thompson, I'm happy with that. Anybody else want to sit on this committee? Another one.
No, sorry, Chair, but I thought we changed the situation so that members of PGA can sit on OSS, or ONS can sit on PGA.
Not on the working groups. I don't think I stand to be corrected by Miss Hughes, but I don't think on the working groups, no, because that is a little stretch too far.
Yes, the working group
of this committee.
Needs to be committee members.
Yeah. 1 more, members. We need another person. Come on, don't be shy. Hey, Councillor Bassinger, you're an absolute star. Yes. I'll give you a lift. Okay, the next working group members is for 2 members to be on the Project and Improvement Management Committee framework. I'd like to, from the chair, nominate Councillor Stilts. Do we have anybody else who wants to sit on there? Did Councillor Thompson want to go on it? She didn't say. She would love to, would she? Councillor Thompson then. Well done, Councillor Thompson. You're going to be a very busy person. Okay, thank you very much. The agenda item 22 members.
Sorry, just to confirm, they're both agreed.
So I propose those members. Do I have a seconder? Do agreed members? Agreed. Thank you very much, Miss Bird. Thank you. Agenda item 22. Any other items of business that the chairperson of the committee decides are urgent? You'll be pleased to know there are none. And I'd like to thank you all. That was a horrendously long agenda meeting, and we finished at 9:35 after a late start. So thank you very much, and excellent questions. And officers and members as well. Thank you. I'll close the meeting at 9. Is that 37? My glasses is it? 37, is it? Thank you.